Blog Talk Radio.
We need a hero, someone to save us from ourselves and our own self-destruction. God only knows we need help. Looking for a hero, someone who cares about the future. Not about themselves, but about the idea of America. We need a hero, someone to show us the way. We need a hero who speaks for the people and what we have to say. We still believe this land of the free is still America. We still believe in the land of the free, and we need a miracle. You know this freedom is anything but free. What we have here depends on those who will fight for what they believe. When we stand together, there's nothing that we can't achieve. This nation of people standing as one in the name of liberty. We need a hero, someone to show us the way. We need a hero who speaks for the people and what we have to say. We still believe this land of the free is still America. We still believe in the land of the free, and we need a miracle. We need a miracle. We need a miracle. We need a hero, someone to show us the way. We need a hero who speaks for the people and what we have to say. We need a hero today. We need a hero today.
Okay, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Continue Mission. And I am your host, James McCormick, and we're going to have a full plate tonight. We've got the whole squad in here, and I'm not talking about like your squad on Capitol Hill. That's not a squad. That's I don't know, that's a gathering of turkey buzzards. So anyways, good evening and welcome to Continue Mission. I am your host, James, and we are going to have Father Michael, we're going to have Rich, we're going to have Val, we're going to have Greg, and we're going to have an open mic night tonight, which means we can talk about anything. And we don't have very many censors on here. So let's just be careful when we go into these conversations, because you never know what's going to come out of one of our mouths, and it may just offend people. It may just offend people. So, but we hope not. We're not out here to offend people. It's always just kind of a joking, jovial attitude and an environment. We're just here to have fun and to entertain you, but to also educate you on some of these things that are very important. Like, number one, the state of our country. What is going on with our country? What's going on on Capitol Hill, especially with Congress. I've never seen so many children in one location. I swear, sometimes it feels like we need a kindergartner teacher in there more than we need a speaker, because all they're doing is beating the gavel and nothing really happens. Well, you say you're sorry. No, you say you're sorry. And they argue. For days. So let me tell you what that equates to. Let's say they're arguing for 3 days over personal nonsense, long eyelashes, you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a homophobe, you're this, you're that, and they get into this thing, and they get it going for about 3 days, and you just look at all the stuff that's just being held up for 3 days. Now, that might not seem like a lot whenever you're thinking about budgets and certain things, unless that budget has to do with veteran suicide. So if it has to do with veteran suicide, by the time that they have got done with their jackassery, 66 veterans have killed themselves. So 66 people have died while they've sat and talked about their eyelashes. One's got a booger in his nose. One's done this or done that, or Donald Trump's this, Biden's that, and it becomes really aggravating when we can actually put a figure. So I can give you a life figure when it deals with veteran suicide, with the average being 22 a day. That's 66 veterans dead while they argue about stupidity. That's AOC, that's Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's all of them that have went to Congress not to do as Daniel Boone did, to do his civic duty, to serve his state and then come home. No, they're going there to become reality TV stars, and you can tell it. And they dress the part, they act the part, and it's really it's disgusting. That's what it is, and it's disgusting on both sides. So that's where I'm at with it. But we just go in and we do the best we can do. And yeah, absolutely, it is 100%, Father Michael. You're right. It's like Jerry Springer. So let's talk about that. Let's open the show with the dramatics that occur on Capitol Hill, because I'm up here every day. I'm here in Germantown, Maryland. Staying here during the week, and working in Washington D.C. And I'm telling you, I see it. I'm here Monday through usually Thursday, sometimes Friday, and now I'm here all this week. And then, of course, I've got the reunion coming up, but I'll be in Fort Eustis, Virginia, down there near you guys with you tomorrow, Rich. So, but this week was incredibly just asinine. Just I don't know, I don't want to get nasty about it. Father Michael, anybody want to chime in on that? You're all in the
no.
In the
one of the things that I went over, because I tried to look at all the current events, was the speech at the Catholic University that was so distorted and out of context, and there's just a lot of vitriol. It's kind of us against them, and there's no harmony or concord, and it was really a disgrace. It really was like watching Jerry Springer's show, the way they were going at each other and intimating, a fight. Although there was an outbreak in Taiwan, I don't know if you saw that, where they actually, they were throwing a fist and so on and so forth. So I like the British system. You know, they get rowdy and stuff like that, but not to the place where they lose their decorum.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and they do have some knockdown, drag out fights in that. But you know, so as everybody knows, I do a lot of metal detecting, and I like the Civil War. And I did this thing where I actually, you know, found these bullets and looked at this bullet. And I don't know, just something about talking about the Civil War this week has just been extremely, you know, challenging. But it's like that is the ultimate that's the ultimate failure of adults being able to civilly work out their differences, to either work it out or stay apart. And the American Civil War, I think, is a great lesson on the breakdown of absolutely everything. And thousands of every one of them were Americans were slaughtered, you know, or they died of sicknesses or diseases. But either way, they died far, far away from home. And you know, you have people out here now that are saying, "Yeah, let's bring on a civil war," because they really are ignorant to the fact that, you know, and I look at those bullets and think thousands of these are flying through the air and they're ripping off people's heads, their legs, their arms, and it would be no different now. I think it would be even more catastrophic because I think that you would see entire cities flattened. You know, you would see a separation of military equipment, and if we went into that kind of a civil war again. And there's no running to the hills to hide from anything because, as you very well know, they've got a missile, they've got a bullet, they've got a something that can reach you no matter where you're at. So, and then there's hypersonic, supersonic weapon systems now that are being deployed that drive you nuts, give you headaches, and cause you to die. You know, just riddle your inside. So it's very scary. It's a hard time, and I just wish that everybody would just take a chill pill and relax. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just too passionate. Anybody else got some?
James.
Yes, sir.
Did that Congress this week? That was a cat fight. Okay. Marjorie Taylor Greene, AOC, and the others, they make $175,000 a year, and they're a public embarrassment. They're supposed to be there and work for their constituents. Mm-hmm. This nonsense is going to stop. This was a bunch of crap, James. Oh, by the way, nice to see you guys again, too, Father Mike and Rich. It's my favorite radio show, man. I get to be around a bunch of fellow old guys, Miss Val excluded. I've been so busy this week, James. I have been busier than a set of jumper cables at a West Virginia wedding. Back to you, gentlemen. Back to you. Let's rock it out tonight, okay? And salutes to this audience out here. You guys are my heroes. God love you guys. Let's have a great show.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how about you, Miss Val? What do you think about all of the explosive drama on Capitol Hill? That should be like the name of a new soap opera.
It sounds like a dumpster fire, and that's a national scale embarrassment. I'm really disappointed when we have women in there that can represent and they're not. Mm-hmm. When we're losing our own at that rate, unacceptable. Mm-hmm. And that's a top priority. And when you're measuring in lives lost, unacceptable. Mm-hmm. And there needs to be imbalances on behavior like that. Unacceptable. That's my thought.
At 60,
that's
at 170.
Val, excuse me. That's what she said. She was unacceptable. And, there's no real decorum or dignity or civility. You can be spirited, but it really was a real good example for a civics class or for people who are becoming citizens or for young kids. This is how it's done.
Yeah. Well, let's look at that at a monetary scale. So if we look at that at a, money-wise, we're probably, each one of those folks are making somewhere around $80 to $90 an hour for that. That's the reality. If they're making $175,000 a year, I'm going to say 80 to 90 bucks an hour. And I'm not getting my money's worth. I'm just going to tell you, I don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth. Rich, what do you think about that? You enjoyed it, I bet.
I didn't care one way or the other. I just saw it on the news, and I don't watch TV anymore. I just, I check it once in a while just to see if any emergency is happening, and I get my news from the internet, and I watch that on YouTube, and I'm like, it's theatrics, and you say you're not getting your money worth. AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene don't represent you; they represent their constituents, and they've been reelected. Okay, at least twice, and so evidently somebody likes them. All right, they likes what they do, but I just have to say this: the Democratic Party has AOC, and I mean they're both clowns, which means they're entertaining. Okay, and so the Democratic Party has AOC, and the Republican Party has Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay,
MTG, and AOC.
Yeah.
Val, does that have any bearing on the fact that women have worked so hard to get in prominent places? Do you think that has any bearing on undermining anything? Or I'm just wondering if, women are usually more critical of women. I'm just curious, how would you view that in light of, the hard work they've had to do to get where they are?
You are right. I mean, that's Bush League. I would take her on. I think that's down to you have to be responsible for your own behavior. That's where it starts. And when she's performing like that and playing at that level, that's not why she's there. That's not what she campaigned on. And there is an accountability factor. And I think not enough of the voters are seeing that behavior. And I mean, behaving like that does nothing for Republican women. Nothing. We're stooping to a level that is unacceptable at the end of the day. And if she's not aware of the facts, she needs to get aware of the facts. And I guess women like myself are going to need to come around her and help her on the behavior front. Sometimes that's what we have to do.
Question for Val on that subject. A quick question. Do you think this behavior and this garbage we're seeing with, honestly, feminist female behavior out there, do you think that's going to show at the ballot box in November amongst, women and families?
The women I'm talking to, and I mean, I don't just preach to the choir. So, I have friends right across the spectrum, and there's a turning of tide, or whatever you want to call it, a coming in, coming home. But women are embracing their DNA. I think that's the best way to put it. And the tide is turning, and they're recognizing, this is our chance as wives and moms right now, today, that we can start fixing things. So I don't think this feminist movement is, I know we see it on TV and it looks big, but the community level or the church level, you're not seeing that. So I don't think they're going to clean house, so to speak, the feminists. I don't.
The incident that happened in Baltimore, if you recall, when they had, riots, the mayor and the district attorney or whoever else was the leadership, they were, putting forth the thought that, if anyone can fix it, black woman can. And I just think that we've got to get over this gender thing, that now that we have all the women or a majority of women as college presidents and this, that, and the other thing, that we have a problem, and it doesn't have a whole lot to do with gender, but competence. And so, we're seeing a lot of African Americans in places of leadership on the police department and different things of that nature. And I think we have this utopian thought that now everything's going to be good, and what we've seen is those who were oppressed now becoming oppressors. And so I really think we need to look at ourselves in the mirror and realize that none of these social experiments are bringing about utopia. And we've got to get back to being civil and moral and God-fearing. And it really is a disgrace. You can laugh and say, it's entertaining, just like when President Trump speaks sometimes. But we've got to get back some decorum and some sense of civility and dignity and respect. And so, I just think that there's a downward spiral, and I just think about our young people. Why is there such a lack of respect anymore for the police or for whomever? It's because the adults are modeling it, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
To you gentlemen on the feminist front, because I'm very curious. In history, were there these fembots, like these women that are wearing these pussy hats out in public and thrashing around? And has that been around in all the generations to the extent that we see today? And quite honestly, are real manly men attracted to that?
No, I'm not.
No. Jordan, Val, great question. Jordan Peterson will tell you that there's a feminist lie that was concocted in the 1960s campuses with all the Marxist professors and stuff. You heard it in the Archie Bunker, the original male chauvinist pig. We heard it with the bra burning and stuff. And this idea that a career, a woman with a equality, career, ambition, was the way to go, and that anything else, including being a goodness gracious homemaker and mom, was second rate. That was a lie concocted because Peterson now is able to witness this generation that's now older. He said it is impossible to keep attorneys, high-powered attorneys, women, who have 20, 30-year careers. They completely drop out of the industry in their early to mid-30s. They've seen the futility of really shallow ambition and career, the career path that we all took kind of in the 80s and 90s and stuff. And they couldn't keep female attorneys because they saw that basically the whole career concept was a lie from the beginning, or at least to what they really, really wanted to do in life that was priceless, and that was be home with an awesome husband and awesome kids and be a homemaker, because that is the number one job of mankind.
The speech from the Kansas City chief kicker, I listened to the whole thing, and you have to understand it within a Catholic context. And if you read, after he said that about the vocation of wife and mother and father and husband, he got a great round of applause. And then they really received him well at the end. And I think we have to learn things from history. I can do everything. My wife has worked most of our married life except when the children came, and then she went back with our last baby, and still working very, very hard. And there are just some things that we need to reevaluate. Now, the economy is really bad. We all know that. And it's always taken, in most cases, two workers to support the families and stuff. But, yeah, we're really not at a good place in even respecting gender roles and marriage. If you didn't get a chance to listen to his speech in its entirety, I recommend it. I thought it was well done within the context of who he was speaking to. And so I think, he was a wise young man.
All right. Not every woman wants to be a mother and a wife, okay? A number of them want to be, they're just like men. They want careers. And a friend of mine from college, she chose that route. As far as I know, she's still working. You know, she's probably past retirement age. And she became an attorney, living in El Paso, and you know, didn't want to get married. So, and I will tell you, the big debate that was going on for a long time was okay, women in the military. Should we allow women into the Ranger School? And I went back and forth and talked about the physical capabilities and things like that, you know, and I realized Ranger School doesn't qualify you to do anything. It's a tab. It just means you're a badass, okay? So, you know, why not let women go? The problem everybody had was in the 80s when well, actually 70, I think it was 78, when the Army disbanded the Women's Army Corps and allowed women to serve in support MOSs. And the debate was that if you allow women, and that did happen, in order for them to succeed, they had an entirely different PT test than men, okay? And we did see a lot of, there were growing pains. But I will tell you, everything I was hearing from when they allowed the women to go through Ranger School, they cut them no slack. In fact, the RIs were probably harder on them. You know, I was hearing stories like, you know, they would just turn to you and, you know, because if you get killed, you have to carry someone's ruck, you have to carry them. You literally throw the body on top of your rucksack, and you're carrying, you know, 60, 70 pounds. And they would just look at some female and kill a linebacker and go, okay, you got to carry him. I mean, and that would drop them out in their first couple of weeks of Ranger School. And you sit there and think it's not fair. I'm like, well, sooner or later, you're going to have to carry a guy like that. Might as well find out you can't do it in 2 weeks instead of going 8 weeks into this thing and then fail at the end. But all the women who had to recycle. They and I have listened to you actually wrote a really good article about, you know, that women should not have a separate physical fitness standard in the Army. They should be held accountable just like men. But the point is, okay, I heard that, I watched that speech too, and he was speaking to a certain audience, but he's not speaking to everybody. That doesn't represent every woman's career goals, and I think women should be allowed to be and do what they want. They should. And I asked because we would. Francois Bonnell was the director of the Army Women's Museum, and I would bring her in, and we had an hour where we go, you know, we'd talk about the evolution of the women's role in the Army and how they're you know, first of all, they weren't even allowed to go into combat. All right. And how that came about. And we would always end the class with, do you ever think women will get to go to Ranger School? And I remember when they finally passed that, Francois and I looked at each other like, we never thought, we always ended our class with this, but we never in our lifetime. But I remember asking, that why would and I would go, is there any woman in here who wants to go to Ranger School? And there would usually be one that would raise your hand. I'm like, why? Why do you want to subject yourself to that kind of abuse? Okay.
Question, Rich.
Wait. Let me answer this real quick.
Yep.
She said, a woman will never get to be the first female Army Chief of Staff if she's not Ranger qualified. She has to outdo everything a man can do. And when I heard that, I said, you're right. Ranger School should have been opened up to women, right? And I wouldn't be surprised that those first 3 women to graduate Ranger School, one of them might be that 4-star general who takes over the Army. Okay, so Greg, what were you going to say?
Rich, just a quick question. Talk to me about selective service. And should girls or 18-year-old girls be included on that mandatory? I'll tell you what, when my twins turned 18, man, it was like a public relation. They were doing everything but threatening them to send them to jail if they didn't sign up for selective service. Should women be on that? And talk to me a little bit about that, Rich.
All right, and I will tell you why, and that is because, just like I said, there are a lot of women who want to be the homemaker. Okay, we shouldn't force them into it. Okay, keep in mind the peacetime draft is a very unpopular thing. Okay, we've had draft riots in during the Civil War. We're very familiar with the problems during the Vietnam War. I remember one Vietnam veteran telling me that, he enjoyed the war. I think he did 6 tours over there. He was a boatie. Okay, he drove boats, and he goes, the draft ruined the war. If we hadn't had the draft, we could have stayed over there. And if you look at the Army did not have. What?
Were you talking about Doc?
No. It was.
Okay, because he had old. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it wasn't Doc. It was a guy over in the Marine field down the hallway. He was a guitarist. I can't remember his name now. But anyway, we did not have to draft. The Army was able to recruit enough soldiers to fight 2 wars, okay? So I really don't think I just don't like the draft. So I don't want to expand the draft to include anybody that's not on it, right? And the other thing is, why are we having people register for the draft when we're not drafting anyone? That doesn't make, it's kind of archaic. So keep in mind, the Cold War required a large standing army, a peacetime army, and that's the first time we had a peacetime draft, okay? And I think this is just legacy of it. I don't think we need it. If we go to a war and it gets to the point where we're going to need to start drafting people, then let's bring it back and then have people register. So that's just my opinion on it.
How about you? Does anybody else have any thoughts on drafting women? Father Michael?
Well, since I had 4 daughters, and because of a lot of stuff that I worked with, not only when I did a speech on My Lai, I don't know that we're professional enough to really integrate to that degree. Now, the Israeli Army, has proven to us, how capable. One of my former students at William & Mary went and completed Ranger School. This is only a year or 2 ago. Okay, so I think what Rich is saying, you got to give people a choice. They want to be there. Now, if there's a supreme emergency, like they were handing out guns in Ukraine, I even asked my wife, who grew up kind of pacifist, would you take a gun, in that situation? But for the most part, we had, I said, E9 Sergeant Major from Special Forces, our speaker last night from Fort Bragg or Fort Liberty, and we had a Brigadier General at CNU, a female. And so, we're seeing some great things and people doing great and wonderful things. But I think everyone should give back and should serve their country in some way. And we've talked about this in the past, whether it's the Peace Corps or whatever it is. In Korea, they do it with the police force or some kind of service. I just think that not everyone's capable, but I just think it does something for an individual. It's kind of like grade 13 that Greg has always talked about. There should be something that acclimates them to adulthood.
Father, sorry to interject here, but on that issue, selective service, okay, I'll just say my position is I agree with you guys in principle, but I don't think there should be like a mom waiver or homemaker waiver. Every 18-year-old, you bloody register just like you forced down my twin's throat. And then, once again, it's a pseudo draft, at least a database of folks you could bring to war. It's real simple. But the key is, if it is implemented, like Father's saying for my 1 year civil service, grade 13, surely folks that even want to be homemakers, surely that could be an option, but they should be able to serve some way too, shouldn't they? Yeah. I just call it across the board. Chime back in there anytime. This is passionate for me. We've had shows on this with Father Mike.
I like it. I think that women, moms, I think we bring an element to that hasn't been utilized to its fullest potential. So I love the idea of having a box that you can check as a homemaker or as a wife and a mom, because we have a vital skill set on the home front when it comes to protecting the home front. And I think that whether that's built into the grade 13 dynamic or it's utilized in war times, we are an unrepresented force to be reckoned with. So going forward, I hope there's a little box for us to check.
I'm wondering why we even have to go fill out our draft registration when everything's computerized. No one's lost in the system. I mean, we should be able to just take, everybody's driver's license is their registration, and as soon as they or their Social Security number.
There's the idea of the year, Rick.
It's automatic. There's
the idea of the year.
Data system.
Based on driver's license. Simple. Problem solved.
Yeah,
there you go.
Driver's license or your Social Security number, you're automatically registered
Done.
in the system. You don't have to do anything. You don't know it.
Done.
But you're eligible.
And doesn't matter how you identify, you're all registered.
Right.
Rich, could you share with us what a vital part women had, not only in Vietnam, but in World War II? In the military,
well, yes. All right. It actually goes back to World War I. World War I is really the turning point for the need for women. And now, there's a difference between the role of women as nurses in the medical field. That was the nurse corps was different from the women Army Corps. The reason the Army brought in women is because there were skills they could do that men didn't. And the first women, I think, that were sent over to France during the war were switchboard operators. If you remember, in the old days, you rang your phone and you talked to an operator and you told her the number you wanted to talk to, and she pulled a little cord out and connected it to a slot, and you were now patched into somebody. And they needed women switchboard operators who spoke French. And so they went over there. We ended up expanding it to female chauffeurs, okay? But by World War II, what we saw is there's just not enough guys to do the job. And the fact that women want to step up and do the job, we opened up a number of fields. The problem was even though they were limited to support roles, mostly clerks. I mean, you looked at the traditional roles that women played in the workforce during World War II. They were, like you said, switchboard operators. They were clerks, and so they created these WAC companies. I know, like in the Transportation Corps, like at ports of embarkation, places like that, they would have a WAC company. And, I had one woman coming in, and she was going through my library, doing research on it, and I asked her about it. I said, I was not aware of that. And I said, what'd they do? And she said, they were all clerks. They were all clerks. And when I came into the Army in 1973, we still had the Women's Army Corps. They were mostly clerks. And they worked in the offices. They worked downrange. Usually, if they were in combat areas, they were in places that were relatively safe. But there were WAC companies that landed on Normandy and followed the troops in. Okay, so when the Army started, so when we got rid of the draft, the two kind of go hand in hand. So we're probably not going to get as many men as we needed. So we're going to have to open up a lot more career fields to women. So the draft ended officially in 1973, and they did away with the Women's Army Corps in 1978 and allowed women into. At that time, we had the combat arms, we had combat support, and combat service support, and so women were allowed in. And the combat service support was all your logistics units and things like that, medical. But your combat support would have been MPs, engineers. Let's see what else. I think chemical corps. I think that was the combat sport. But the first women to go into combat was Grenada, and they were MPs. Okay, so is that the answer you guys were looking for?
Yes, it was. I mean, I was also thinking of the women Marines and just some of the vital things that they did. My mother worked on B-29s in the factory, and, they did a great deal for the war effort, not necessarily in uniform, but yes, that's what I was looking for, just to see, what they filled in and, what they did. And like I know in Vietnam, versus was great. Yes. I'm sorry,
Father, on that front, there are not a lot of people who talk about how women can serve during wartime or peace. And there are not many people who are alive who survived the Blitz in London. But God rest her soul, my Aunt Margaret was a World War II generation, Leicester, England, right outside of London. And those women, and they were technically, Father, housewives. My Aunt Margaret sold war bonds door to door for Churchill. These gals didn't stop, including there were no men left in London. So these women literally, technically ran London for that period of time. I told this story before. My grandfather died as a result of mustard gas in World War I, and my grandmother had to just drop the 6 kids off at an orphanage because there's no way to take care of them, and there were no men left in London after World War I. So there you go. Back to you.
Oh. No, it's interesting because I, still have my hand in the Army. I work with the cadets, and I've seen a great change. I got out the first time in 1972, and went back in 1995, and it's interesting seeing them acclimate. But I think I mentioned when I was at the manager clinic for some training when I was in the Army, some of the women were pleading for the fact that they were distinctive. They had different muscle mass and, different things of that nature. And I think, we're seeing some positive things. I mean, when I was at Fort Leonard Wood in 1995, we did have some problems with them being in the same barracks, and even on ships, there have been a lot of women that came back from the cruise pregnant. So that's why I talked about the professionalism. I don't think you should keep anyone out of something they feel that they want to do. I just think you have to understand human nature and not be naive about it, like it doesn't make a difference. because it does.
All right.
And there's been all kinds of studies done.
Yeah, let me add an observation I made during my 5 trips to Iraq and Afghanistan and addressing that issue. Okay. All right, so the women are in the truck units. Do you give them their own barracks or tents, depending on what time, the early part of the war, everybody's sleeping in tents, or do you billet them with the men? That was a question.
I've been in both, okay?
Yeah.
And, you can't even pass gas because you got women in there and or get up and go to the bathroom. You got to get all. It was a little inconvenient, okay? And I just don't think. I talked to an Air Force nurse that felt tormented. You just can't imagine or can't pretend that there's not a difference and there's no arousal and you don't feel anything being in that situation. I had a commander ask me to go into their tent with the sergeant major and her. Maybe she felt awkward there, but I felt awkward going in the tent with her. And so I said, I'll stay at H&C.
Here's what I learned. You have higher rates of sexual assault if you segregate the women into their own barracks or tents. If you integrate them, and this is what the officers told me, you integrate. Now you can put up like a sheet. The women are in the same tent, barracks as the guys. The guys protect them like they're kid sisters. There were fewer cases of sexual assault when you integrated the women in there. And I remember rolling in on one convoy, and we were doing, the convoys were at night, and we all pulled in. We're assigned the billets, drop our gear, stripping down to go jump in the sack, and I'm looking over, and there's a couple women. Nobody's paying attention. Everybody's like, I just want to get some sleep. It's a long day. And I'm like, yeah, it was just so normal. When
I was at Fort Leonard Wood, I saw, and excuse me, Val, but I'm just being frank. I saw these soldiers with very visible erections walking around in their PTs. And we found some in the trash can, the dumpster. I know that we can have that much faith in human nature in every situation. Now, I hear what you're saying.
Wait. Let me
statistics on that.
Okay.
I'd like to see some statistics.
So even if there are no women in the unit, you think the guys are not going to be getting erections?
I think they're more easily aroused when there's a woman around. No, I hope
That's
not.
all these guys talked about was porn. Okay? Yeah, they were looking at porn all the time. Yeah, these guys are going to have erections all the time. Okay? They're young men.
Can I chime in on this? Because it comes back to what I said with the role of a mother. And I know that typically it's like, why would you throw a mother into the mix? But I'm just saying you're not going to have those same kind of issues when you have that parental figure representing the moral home values. Like you wouldn't have that as much of that stuff going on. Hanky panky.
Well,
I think.
Well, in basic training, though, Rich, they're not going to have access to pornography or their phones as much. And like I said, when we found them in the dumpsters, it wasn't. I just think that you have to use a little bit of prudence and a little bit of understanding of human nature, and don't think that we're so far above that we wouldn't be tempted. I just think that we can't be naive and just think that everything is neutered and everything is, neutral and there are no differences. Like I said, and even in showering, all right, are we going to say we can shower together too if we're sleeping in the same tent? Come on, where do you draw the line? That's why with my 4 daughters, I wouldn't want them to go in the time that I was in.
Hey, James.
Because I don't think we respected women the way we needed to.
Yeah.
not
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt, Father. I had a question for you. Rush Limbaugh used to say that the military has really one purpose, and that's to kill people and break things. And
that's true.
And that all of this, that's not a social club. It's not a social engineering should not be part of it. It should be highest and best military. My question to you directly: do we have an affirmative action bunch of BS going on right now as a culture in the military that really could cost American lives? Okay, period. Clinical. Looking for a clinical answer to that. What do you think?
Well, there's a lot of social engineering going on. A lot of PC, most definitely. Now, there are also standards, and it depends on the leadership. I served on a police department, and there's kind of like I have to extend this to other people just to have equal, opportunity. However, when you come down, especially when there is an attack on a university, you're looking for people that are more aggressive. And I remember some sergeants that I was with at Fort Bragg that had been drill sergeants, females, muscular and really fit and stuff like that. But I do think that just because we want things to look equitable, that we're not really making the playing field level. And it's not because you're more capable.
What percentage of female military right now, Father or James, or what percentage do you think deserve to be there? And what percentage do? Simple question. It's like an affirmative action question.
And our cadets, I would say we have at least 25%. I'm speaking
deserve to be. I mean, that deserve to be there, really on an equal plane. Here you go, because there are gals in certain sports that are like that, where you want them to be on your team. They're great, equal opportunity. However, what percentage are there because they are really the best person for that job, and what percentage as a pure, basically an affirmative action, wanting them to be there for their gender?
Yeah, I said from what I can see, and I'm looking at a small thing, there's a lot of social engineering going on to encourage that. And, because they want to say that it's equality and not discriminating. And yet, really, this woman that I spoke to yesterday, okay, she's a sergeant major in Special Forces at Fort Bragg, been in 28 years, very impressed with her professionalism and all that she did. And so I just think it depends on the person. But when you have government that are trying to socially engineer and just make it look a certain way, I don't think there are a lot in Delta Force or in Ranger battalions or in, Special Forces groups. But this woman, like I said, she was a sergeant major. So, I mean, she's made it in 28 years. But, I do think there's pressure, politically. And I think that's not a good thing. Because I don't think right now, you're not seeing people leave. You're not seeing people get thrown out because we're so short right now. Okay,
James, do you think this can be fixed? Do you think this can be fixed with the new administration?
Should I answer the question? The
Go
answer
ahead,
is all the women are qualified. All the women are qualified. Now, what Patel is talking about is wokeness. What I want to ask him is to define social engineering. The question was, Greg, the question you asked
quotas. You remember quotas,
let me clarify this. Are the women who are in the military, how many of them or what percentage are qualified for the jobs? They are all qualified for the jobs. The Army, while I was still working there, the Army had to go back and look at when we were opening up the infantry and the combat arms to women. The Army had to go back and look at what the standards were, why the standards were, reevaluate those standards, and say, are these arbitrary standards? Or, like, for example, there was to be in the laundry and bath, you had to be able to lift 50 pounds. Well, that eliminated a lot of women. And then when they went back and looked at why did we come up with that? Well, the reason was there was a laundry machine that weighed 200 pounds. And so for 4 people to pick it up, each had to be able to lift 50 pounds. They don't have that machine anymore. The machine is bigger and it's towed on a trailer. Okay, so they realized we can change the standard. So the Army went back and reevaluated all the MOSs. The women that meet those standards are qualified for those jobs. Now, what I would like I see. I'm going to echo what Patel is saying, and that is, since Biden's been the president, the feedback is the wokeness has really taken over the Army. But you use the term social engineering, and I'd really like you to define that.
Quotas, Rich, you remember quotas. There's a pressure politically to make things look like they're equal. Now, you know with the new PT test that you can't go into a certain MOS if you can't do certain things, and I think that's equitable. I think that's good. But there's a pressure to have quotas, and people struggle, and they do their best, and but there are some things that you're not going to be able to do at the same level as a man, okay? And so there are those that, yes, they qualify, and now that the PT test is more equitable, but there is a pressure for quotas. And so you're going to choose somebody.
Wait a minute. All right. My question was social engineering. I would like you to define that. As far as I know, the Army has no requirement to enlist a certain number of black people, a certain number of Asian people. The service academies, they look at quotas. And the reason they look at quotas is because the officer corps that they produce has to reflect the demographics or the racial demographics of the military. So, you don't.
You don't think that enlistment and when people promote people, they're not thinking the same thing?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I've known people who are recruiters. My brother was on recruiting duty.
That's what I have.
They never had. They're trying to get qualified people, and they're having a hard time doing it. They want a breathing body who's a high school grad who meets a standard. There is no quota. I have to have this many black. I have this many Hispanic. No, it's this many qualified young men and women. Okay, and now there was Remo Butler. He was a captain.
Yeah, I know.
Him and I were captain. Yeah, Remo, first black SF general officer. Okay. Yeah, him and I were captains together, and great sense of humor. He would just pull on my chain. But he wrote a paper. He wrote a paper when he got to, I think, the War College, that when you look at the percentage of African Americans in the nation, you look at the percentage of African in the Army, it's usually higher that more African Americans are going to serve in the military than they're represented in. So if you were saying a quota, we would have to limit the number of blacks coming into the Army.
But you see the study that General Brooks did. Let me interject. The study that General Brooks did, and General Brooks. I don't know if there were several Brooks at West Point.
Wait, which Brooks? There was my classmate. One before there were two brothers.
I was at Fort Bragg. I was at Fort Bragg with my wife and his wife too.
Leo, or I forgot the other one. Vince. Okay, Leo's my classmate.
Yeah. And so they did a study, and I actually saw the study. It was given to me by the ROTC, that most African American men use the military as a stepping stone.
Right.
Remember we were talking about why aren't there more general officers? Yes. Right.
Wait, that's why there's a larger percentage of African Americans serving in the military than is represented in society. Now, what Remo Butler's study found is that when you look at the percentage of African Americans in the Army and you look at the percentage of African Americans as general officers, it was below that. Now he didn't he didn't know why, and it opened our eyes. And so I remember reading that, and so the Army went back to study this. Did we do something wrong? You know what they found? Because
not
what
in combat
said,
arms. They didn't go in combat arms.
Okay, no, that's it. But let me explain why. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
A large percentage of African Americans serve in the military to posture themselves for good jobs when they get out. There are not a lot of good jobs for trigger pullers. And what they found is a high percentage of African Americans go into the support field. Hey, working in CASCOM headquarters, I could see that, large number of African Americans, civilian and military work in this field. And you're going, and the opportunities for promotion to general officer in the support branches is lower than the combat arms. Right. Okay. So that was a study. But let's go back. So what I'm telling you is not working on a quota system. Let's go back to define social engineering.
Okay, because we're having such a hard time with recruiting, and of course we have to look at some studies we just cited too. Yeah. There is
now,
a little more of a laxity.
It's during the Biden administration. We never had that problem during the war.
Right.
It's because of the Biden administration. Okay.
Exactly. Of course, I don't know that they realize that or that they see that, but
no,
I
the
think
problem occurred during the Biden. Yeah. They don't point it out, but the problem occurred during his administration. Yeah. So go ahead. Yeah. But you said social engineering. Tell me what you mean.
I think right now, because of the pressure, PC, woke pressure, this and that. Have you seen the recent poster with the man with the beard and the wrap on his head and the different accommodations that are being made? So it's no longer you have to be uniform. We're basically trying to look like the society. So if you're a Hindu, you want to wear a headdress and have a beard, you can see posters right now. I don't know if you've seen them.
Oh, wait, stop. Those are not Hindus. Those are Sikhs.
Excuse me?
Those are
Sikhs. So Sikhs.
And let me tell you, Sikhs are some of the baddest motherfuckers when it comes to military. The Sikhs in the British Army, they were an elite unit, okay? And their religion is very martial, which makes them great soldiers. The problem is, according to the religion, they can't cut their hair, okay? So they wrap it up, and they wrap it up in a turban, okay? And I got to at Fort Eustis, we had a Sikh who was a dentist. I'd meet him in the gym, and we got to talk. And he would, the excuse about why you can't grow a beard in the Army is your gas mask won't fit. Your gas mask won't fit. And he said, it will. Oh, no, it won't seal. It won't seal. He goes, yes, it will. It's an excuse. Guess what? SF, when they go down range, grow beards all the time, okay? Thing is, so when you're talking about those guys in the turbans and the beards, those are Sikhs, and our Army needs Sikhs.
But that's still not allowing the culture of the Army to influence the culture of the United States. It's succumbing to the culture of the United States and all its diversity, and that's social engineering.
Okay, that's sounding close. All right. So give me an example of how the Army is social engineering.
Accommodations, Rich, I hear it all the time, okay? Accommodations that would have not been made when I first went in or when you went in, okay? And it's not only because of the pressure of, recruitment. It's because we're trying to make the Army in a different image than it has always been. And how that's going to work in any of the wars we get involved in, I'm not so sure. Recently we saw, the hair.
Let me ask, because I know of examples. All right.
Okay, well, let me finish my thought. before
go ahead.
With the hair, for instance, you saw recently that the females no longer have to keep their hair up. Okay, so there's been a lot of accommodations. That's all I'm saying.
I don't have a problem with that. Okay. Yeah.
Well, some of it looks ragged. I'll be honest with you. I've seen it. I've been in
that's true.
situations.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, but that's all opinion. For example, we got a sergeant major in the Army who didn't like tattoos, so he required everybody who had tattoos to go to the aid station, have them documented, photographed, documented, and from that time on, you couldn't enlist anybody who had a tattoo, and anybody who added another tattoo was going to be discharged. That's because
we had
this
tattoos inspections at Fort
did
Bragg.
not like tattoos. And then as soon as he left, he finished his 2 years. Guess what? They abolished that policy. Okay. Yeah. So you're going to say who's standard, but I can cite examples. Okay. So we talk about the alphabet group. All right. The alphabet group. So all of a sudden, now we're allowing all these people to serve in the military. See, here's the problem with, all right, I don't know everything. I just know what I'm hearing. But, see, if you've already had your sex change, you got that out of the way, you could come in and serve in the military and do well. The Army does not need to be paying for people's sex changes, okay? It's very expensive. It's a very lengthy process, and you're totally non-deployable during it. You cannot do your Army mission if you enlist in the Army to get a sex change, okay? It's fair. You come in, you've got all that done, you come in, and you want to go for combat. Not everybody wants to pull a trigger. We need a lot of people for every trigger puller. I don't know what the ratio is. It used to be, I think in Vietnam, 11 to 1 or 10 to 1. For every guy out there pulling a trigger, you need about 10, 11 people back in the rear supporting them. And I heard a more recent study during the Iraq War, and they said 4 to 1. Okay, and I'm like, well, that's because you're only counting people in uniform, because the biggest part of the subcontractors. Okay, so when you count those in, we're still back up to that. For every trigger puller, there's 10 or 11 people, whether they're in uniform or civilian, supporting these people. So there's a place for everybody.
Where do you see the future with drones and stuff and less need for quote unquote infantry?
Look, let's save that for another show. We're talking about technology. That's an hour, at least an hour long discussion. Okay. Yeah.
So I think that's a factor, right? As far as the physical is concerned,
it is.
That is going to be a factor, an equalizer.
It is, but it's an entirely different subject than what we're talking about today. Okay, so we're talking about wokeness, and all right. The thing is, to accommodate, look. We stated this in the beginning clearly. The purpose of the Army is to win wars, okay? Not to promote social agenda. But I will tell you, the Army has always been on the forefront of social change, all right? Before
social
blacks
change is
ever
different than
got
social
equal rights.
Yeah.
Before this may fit. Maybe this is okay. So let's talk social engineering.
Yeah, I think social change.
America's
you're correct.
Racist. So the only place that African Americans in the 19th century could be treated as equals was in the Army. They get treated as equals in the Army. That's social engineering. We programmed racist white soldiers from the South that, guess what? Well, actually, we didn't have to program them. We allowed.
Wasn't that under
created,
Truman?
Huh?
Wasn't that under Truman? I mean, I know they had their own, brigades or own things, but under Truman it was integrated, right?
Okay. During the Civil War, during the Revolutionary War, blacks were integrated into every unit. Now there was a Maryland regiment that we think was all black, or mulattoes. That would be the only segregated unit, all right? And that's because I guess there was a lot of free blacks in Maryland. But after that blacks were excluded from serving in the militias and the military. And it wasn't until the Civil War that we finally allowed blacks to enlist in the military. We created that the Army was segregated, so they would serve under white officers. But we had so many African American colored. The term was colored regiments that we actually had one division that was all black. Okay, and then they had proved, that they could fight, and they earned a permanent place in the Army. And so, in the post-war Army, there were 4 black colored infantry regiments and 2 colored cavalry regiments that would go on to. They would become the Buffalo Soldiers. They would serve with distinction. Now, during the downsizing of the Army in 1869, the 4 infantry colored regiments were reduced to 2, the 24th and the 25th. And so basically the 9th and 10th Cavalry, the 24th and 25th Infantry remained in the Army to World War I, okay? And they earned distinction everywhere they fought. Indian War, Spanish-American War, the Philippine Insurrection, so on. And then during the World War I, we created 2 colored infantry divisions. And because now both the French and the British were screaming for augmentation. They wanted American augmentation. And since the French Army had a lot of colonial troops from North Africa, we're like, hey, we'll give the French the 2 colored divisions, because they'll feel more comfortable with them. It was the 92nd and the 93rd divisions, and they got treated better served there than they might have gotten treated in an American Corps. Okay, and we reactivated those same 2 divisions during World War II. Now, the fact was they got shortchanged. In fact, both in World War I and World War II, they got low priority on everything, and so they basically had American uniforms, but all their equipment, the rifles, the helmets, were all French. Okay, and so when they created the divisions, I forgot which of the 2 divisions is a black circle, and it has that blue French helmet on it. Okay. Anyway, that's so there was always that segregation, but it worked. It worked. I mean, they definitely proved their role, and so that's social engineering. That's a product of social engineering. That's good social engineering. But where we are today, well, the problem is, what I'm hearing is, yes, we need, when we get all this training on how to accept people who are different, that's good. It's social engineering, but it's good. When you overdo it, it's like, okay, I will tell you, when we first integrated women into the Army, into the other regiments, oh, the horror stories, the growing pains were bad. I mean, this is a story I got from a company commander. If a woman accused you of sexual assault, you were relieved of command. And this is a story I was told. The guy was a basic training company commander. The woman wanted out of the Army. He didn't like playing Army anymore. goes in, because to get to the company commander's office, you got to go through the first sergeant. She walks through the first sergeant, goes through the office, goes into the company commander's office, rips her blouse, and screams rape. That company commander was relieved because that was the policy at the time. There was a lot of studies found that a lot of drill sergeants were definitely taking advantage of their female recruits, and so it took a while to find that balance, okay, to where we realized, okay, we got to allow for a little bit of common sense now, okay?
When we were at Fort Eustis, Rich, when we were at Fort Eustis, I had a deal with a sergeant, came to the common room, and this woman took her clothes off, basically, tried to seduce him, and he got in some major trouble that I had to work with him until we got out of there. Do you remember that?
The problem was during that time frame is you took a woman's, it's like the Me Too movement. There was no policing. You took the woman's accusation as the word. The male who is accused is relieved from suspended from his position until this situation is resolved. Okay. So that was. I had
some false accusations at Fort Bragg, and yet E8, and some of them, they tried to save their careers for them. But I know they'd given me a list, and I said, I know all the guys. If you'd have chose some other ones, I'd have believed you, but I don't believe you here. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, because it does happen, but there were some careers that were being ruined because people.
No, that's true. All right. So is this what you would call your definition of social engineering? That is social engineering.
I call it social manipulation.
African American regiment.
No, I'm talking it.
Socially engineer whites to accept African American soldiers as equals.
You said social change, Rich. Listen to me now.
That's
social
what I use.
Change is not
the term social engineering.
It's not right, but social engineering can be social manipulation. There's a difference between really good societal change that you're implementing. I agree with what you're saying.
All right. Okay, so we're coming really close to agreeing then. Okay, so it's social change, social engineering. It requires
we're gonna move on here in just a second.
Good. All right, I think we've come to an agreement then.
Yeah, y'all beat it to death.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Without me hanging up on him, okay? By being interrupted. Okay, we're good.
Hey, Rich, we need more details next time, okay? Rich, we need more details next time.
On what?
I love you guys.
What?
This is smart talk tonight. Seriously, I love listening to this stuff. And this is called overnight radio, guys. Long-form radio. Put your transistor on in your bedroom at night and just listen to really smart guys talk. So there you go. I'm thrilled to be on here tonight with you guys, seriously.
I want to get into the current situation. Since we're talking about women, let's go back into women in politics. And I'm real interested. Y'all got a race out in Arizona for U.S. Senate. And we talking Carrie Lake, Mark Lamb. I'd like to get some insight on what's going on with Carrie Lake, Val. I'd like to get it from the woman's perspective. I mean, is she like the lady that could eventually become president, or is she somebody that could embarrass the whole female population? I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on that.
Well, I'll touch on her background. She is a former news anchor, and I appreciate that because a trained propagandist works very hard. Sitting in front of a teleprompter and reading the words that come on the screen, it involves focus and dedication, and you really have to think about what you're saying to portray what you're trying to say. And, TV can be fairly fake. So being trained in propaganda myself, I can appreciate what Carrie Lake is capable of doing, but that's her background for many, many years. She is an attractive woman, and she's very good with one-liner, 10-second snippets. And I attribute that to her background. But that's about it. We have heard the same one-liners come out, and she's the champion of election integrity, but didn't get anywhere. And so I'm very concerned on many levels. Go ahead.
When they tried to blackmail her and there was a tape of the conversation, can you address that? You sound pretty rough to me. You sound like a gangster to me.
Well, that clip that you're talking about, in my opinion, that was together. That was old audio. Why would you sit on that for many, many months? And also, he was paying her at that time to be an employee. So I think there's more to the story, and I have taken the time and done a real deep dive on Kari Lake, and I encourage those of you at home listening to do the same, regardless of candidate, but just, honing in on Kari Lake. Start with the candidate papers, the nomination papers she filled out, and follow the trail. And just because she's a woman doesn't get my vote. And I think that there is an underdog in this race who is a male, who is Sheriff Mark Lamb, who's known across the United States. And I really, really hope that Donald Trump takes the time and really weighs out that endorsement that he's given and perhaps maybe takes it back. When you look at the skill set and what Sheriff Mark Lamb brings to the table, I mean, take the budget that he's responsible for. $60+
Is she
million.
a possibility for VP? I've heard that thrown around a little bit. That scares me without governing experience.
Let's hope not.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Father, but just because she's a news anchor, I come with that skill set as well. That's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
That is not enough to be put in a role like that. So I really hope not.
Yeah, I agree. So thank you for giving us a little more insight. So, James, does that answer your question? Are you concerned she might be a contender for VP?
I do. I think that she could be a contender for VP. I think that, I think that there is an appetite by some just to propel people into positions based on we want to have the first, name whatever as president, vice president, et cetera, et cetera. And we're right. It's like Biden's, all of his appointees. Most of them are appointed not based on skills, but based on some sort of a social status, race, you name it. And I think when we do that, number one, it's disingenuous to the race and to the women, that especially. So there are plenty of qualified women. Hold on a second. There are plenty of qualified women that are out there that are sitting back thinking, well, why is this person propelled into this? And they're much more articulate, much more capable of leadership. And I think that when you hear, what I hear on a Val is that we have no problem with seeing a woman, a black person, an Asian person, or whatever. No. But what we want to see is we want to see the best qualified person. And we don't want to see someone excluded just because they don't happen to fit that social engineered mold. There you go.
And James?
Well
all right.
James.
I've defended Biden on his pick for 3 positions, right? The Secretary of the National Security Council. I want to add a 4th person, highly qualified, the FEMA director. Okay?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can say she's a female. When you look at her resume, she's like one of the first female.
I don't disagree.
Yeah,
I don't disagree.
The thing is, so I just want to add. I'm glad you brought that up. I just want to add, there is a fourth person on
say Pete Buttigieg.
Biden's staff who is highly qualified for the job, and happens to be a female, but highly qualified. Keep in mind, Bush appointed a friend who he ran a dog show as head of FEMA. He had no qualification for it.
That was good.
Like when I saw her,
but he had Condoleezza Rice.
Highly qualified. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out. When it comes to Biden and his diversity, he actually he picked 4 people in very critical jobs. Remember, the FEMA director, if nothing goes wrong, that's a do-nothing job. But as Katrina showed, it can backfire on you really bad. So Biden picked a really highly qualified female director of FEMA. All right, I give my time back, okay?
Greg, you were asking a question. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, I was just going to kick the mic back to Val on with one question. The 3 gentlemen here, the 3 captains we're with, they love the inside scoop. Okay, Val? I'll just say it right here and now. There's no one that I know who's more dialed in and drilled down into the deep workings of the Arizona election coming up. July 30th is the primary, Lake versus Lamb. July 30th. Write it down, Arizona folks. Vote Mark Lamb. But I want to kick it back to Val. Inside scoop here. You are a boots on the ground, or as we say, skates on the ice in Montreal person. You went to both of these campaign events on more than one occasion. If you guys don't mind, gentlemen, Val, can you just relay that? I mean, truly inside scoop, Lake versus Lamb, inside scoop on the campaigns.
Okay, so I'll start with Lakes. A lot of DC dollars is what it looks like. And I was registered as a member of the media, and I was in the press pool, and I was shocked when I was told there were going to be no questions that we could ask. And, I traveled quite a distance, and other journalists were coming from all over the place. And there was no time, no possibility of even asking her a direct question. I thought that was odd. And I pushed it a little further, and I said, well, can I patch a question through to her? Through her, I think he was like 19-ish aide. And that wasn't even a possibility. And, we weren't allowed to go into the crowd and interact. If we crossed a duct tape line on the ground, we were told we could be escorted out. So I was disappointed because I think it's really close. This is a close race, and I think we need to be able to get up close and personal, especially as a member of the media, because I have a large microphone. And people want to know. If they can't get there, they want to know. And part of due diligence is looking these candidates in the eyes, getting in their face, and asking them questions. And so that was really alarming to me that, she wasn't willing to answer questions. So that isn't good, in my opinion. Over to Sheriff Lamb.
Val, before you go to Sheriff Lamb, sorry to interrupt here.
Yes.
Share the story about the Secret Service dogs. Have you touched on that? Because I was away from my mic for a bit, but on the Lake campaign.
That was strange.
It's hysterical. Please tell the story.
Granted, this was one of my first covering this in the United States, so I didn't know what to expect. So you could class me as a newbie. But I was told by law enforcement, I didn't know who they were. They just said, you need to leave this area. And I said, well, the press area, because this is, duct taped off and it's press. You need to leave so that the Secret Service can come in with their dogs and do a sweep. And I said, oh, okay. I don't want to interrupt operations. I'll move. And so there were a few of us, and we were kind of standing off to the side watching because I wanted to see what Secret Service dogs looked like. You know, I was curious to see if they had badges on or things like that. But I didn't know that candidates needed Secret Service at their, you know, like that was her announcement for running as senator. That was her announcement night. So is she special, or does this happen all the time? I mean, this is your guys' election cycle. I'm an outsider coming in.
I've been a part of dog sweeps. We even do dog sweeps at the university at the football games, you know, with special trained people. But I don't know the answer to the Secret Service thing. But, I mean, with all the craziness that's going on in the world, I would think you'd want the dogs to smell out bombs and drugs or whatever, because we always do that, like I said, at the football game through the state police. But I'm not sure. Maybe there were threats. Maybe there were threats.
But they never came through, right, Val? The dogs never came through, right? And you were looking out in the park.
I didn't see any dogs.
You went looking in the parking lot. You were looking in the parking lot thinking that there were Secret Service guys out there. I say, no, those guys were rent-a-cops. They were like, you know, guys, mall cops. Anyhow, just back to on that. Let's get back.
Work with, they pick up chatter, and there could be a threat, you know, as they assess the thing. You know, we even do that in military intelligence in the Army. So, yeah, it's strange. I don't know what the motivation was, but maybe they did get a threat. Who knows?
But there were no dogs. And the point is, as a member of the media, to be told something like that, I'm going to then turn around and broadcast that to people. But then I didn't see any dogs come and sweep the area. So I think that there are tactics and tricks that can amplify or give the presence of something. And so it's really important to fact check. And as media, like I needed to be on. I needed to be paying attention to who, you know, asking better questions like, oh, who's paying for the Secret Service to be here? Where are they? Who is it? Why? Why do you need the Secret Service here? You know, not just give the illusion of something. And I at that event in particular, I was looking at an illusion. Okay, I was boots on the ground, and when I witnessed the small crowd that was there and then the video that came out afterwards, it was incredible. It was incredible. Very deceiving, very deceiving. And these are some of the tricks that you can use when you have DC dollars behind you, or maybe if you're in the industry, you know some of the tricks of the trade, so to speak. And
did Sheriff Lamb have a gun? Is he still a sheriff? I've seen pictures, but did he have any kind of security?
Well, himself and all of
it's Father
and all
Mike
of the military that's supporting him. I mean, he had real armed. We're in Arizona; it's the Wild West out here. So
Father Mike, I had a campfire chat with Sheriff Lamb a year and a half ago, and I said I had the safest campfire in the world. That's just me and him sitting there. He's got his big old Glock. You know, can you imagine if he made a quick phone call or a text? You know, Father. So Mark would be the first one to say, I'm my own security detail. That's what he'd say.
Right. Right, sure.
I want to be, Father, will I have you here too? Very important. When you talked about that guy and that phone call to Lake that was leaked, of course, I want to tell you right now, that was a setup, in my opinion. That is not what it appeared to be. And I don't say that without being confident. Again, Greg Meekin's opinion. She was. This was directed at the leader of he was the main guy at the Republican National Committee in Arizona. And as Val alluded to her, and I haven't fact checked this and stuff, but she was funded a lot of money to buy her time between her governor run and the Senate run. She truly was truly, I'm surprised I'm saying this because I'm usually not this candid, but that she was biting the hand that fed him, and there's a big story behind it where this guy wasn't maybe what he's been painted up to be. So just let you know on that one, and also Val can finish up. Don't forget Mark Lamb.
Her to get her out of the race. That's what it appeared to be.
Sure, and I think it was again, my opinion. I think it was a setup where there are, I guess, we won't drill down too much here, but there's a lot of this stuff between lobbyists and PACs and some of the, the RNC, DNC. There's a lot of kind of money that go, contracts, consulting contracts, of being able to fund people. And everything I've heard is that Carrie Lake was just a really blessed recipient of that, not only funds, but I have heard health care for her family. Okay, I'll just say it. So I'm saying, wow, isn't that weird that months and months later you set this guy up and virally take his career down. And I'm just saying, I don't know if I like that. Val, please, maybe we'll, dust ourselves off. Please talk about Sheriff Lamb's campaign because you spent some time there once again on the ground. Thanks, Val. Go ahead. Is Val there?
Val?
Do you still have Val? She might have.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Justin Trudeau's been censoring Val left and right, I'm sure. So if Val ever just blinks out there, blame it on Ottawa, guys. Blame it on Ottawa. Here you go.
I'll be really quick to close off, but I do want to mention, I think, doing some citizen journalism is really important, and this is a hot topic. And I know there are some researchers and diggers that are listening, so it's really easy. Just Google Carrie Lake's campaign nomination papers, and you will be able to see that what Greg said is in fact true. She was biting the hand that fed her. So that is an important part of this. He was paying her a wage. So it's very strange. Over to Sheriff Lamb. It's completely opposite. It is a true blue feel to his campaign. When I say true blue, what I mean by that is it's tried, tested, and true. It's God, family, freedom. It's local versus global. It has that feel. It's made up of neighbors and friends and concerned community members and coworkers and just very intimate, a very intimate feel versus a DC feel. And that's important because everybody's shopping for something different. But I'm shopping for, and I know the people of Arizona are shopping for someone that can do the job, and Sheriff Lamb is tasked for it. He deals with DC swamp creatures right here in Arizona, having to deal with people that are corrupted, wanting to make bad deals, wanting to cause harm to people. He's well versed in this area. And I don't know what a news anchor, how that even competes with the level of experience that he has. He's also a lifelong conservative, and she's a flip-flopper on really, really important issues. Really important issues. Just because you wear a cross on your neck isn't good enough, in my opinion. We have to, we cannot fall for signs and jewelry and imagery and illusions. We need to ask better questions. And Sheriff Lamb is not afraid of any questions because I asked him straight up. I said, is there any questions that are out of bounds that I can't go there and ask? And he said, no, ask me anything. That's how he is. And I think you have to be that bulletproof in this race. And we're having a hard time tracking Carrie Lake down to have, a debate. It's been very difficult. We've lacked debate. Why is that? Why are you afraid
inside scoop, guys? Well, you got, before we move on, inside scoop there. It seems like a two-horse race, Carrie Lake versus Ruben Gallego, this complete loser Democrat. Okay, and it's a two. But the truth. Here you go, inside scoop. Mark Lamb, write it down, is polling better against Gallego. Just telling you, okay? Kirsten Sinema, who's a very popular independent here, she had really she was LGBTQ gal. She had a real passionate following, and they broke to Mark Lamb 2-1, guys, 2-1. Hello. I believe if we strolled to the polls today in Arizona, Mark Lamb would be the Senate candidate. So there you go, inside scoop. And whether it's back to you, Val, or whatever, thank you guys for this platform tonight, okay? Val doesn't very often get the opportunity to do kind of long form like this, guys. So thank you. I feel blessed to be here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to, as I'm listening to this, so the lack of debates are a national problem that should be addressed legislatively or some way that says you have to debate. So they have these things that they call debates. They're not debates. They're an opportunity for the candidate to answer questions that they agree to answer. It's the most we're just being led by losers. And we wonder why, the stuff happens that happens. But a person that is a liar is terrified to be questioned in public. A person that is not a liar has no issue with it. So that's what I would tell anybody that says, I will not debate, or I think the debate is, I'd like to debate, but it's just not going to be a fair platform for me. Anybody that says those things has something to hide. And it could be something really, really bad. Because as Val, you pointed out, you can't even go there as the media to try to report the actual news or the actual statements that they say, because you're not allowed to speak. I mean, this is just
James,
crazy.
This is a fact. We got Val Olson on here. Continue Mission radio show. This show might not be shown in areas of Canada, James. Truth. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And you ask Val Olson, you don't think she's been I'll tell you what, Alberta and Ottawa are scared to death of Val Olson. I'm just going to tell you. Write that down. A Greg quote. That's a Donald Trump quote right there. Back to you guys.
Yeah. And, the sad thing about that is that happens to a lot of people. It only happens to the people that are slow and that are just steady. So there's only one way to tell the truth, and that's just the way that it is. And there are people that, if you believe in, nailing down the truth, or simply, trying to get people to be more honest and more genuine, you're a weirdo. You're the freak, you know what I mean? Because how dare you, try to show up to ask a question? Who are you to question any of these people's greatness? Don't offend them. Make sure you kiss the ring, and remember, they are royalty. They are the king or queen, and we've come to that in an elected society. And people get elected and they never get out unless they do something really heinous or the media turns against them. And this is where I think, in some cases, the media needs to be defanged. There should be serious, fines, millions of dollars for reporting bogus information and not doing their homework. They should be fined for that. If you watch MSNBC, you watch Fox, you watch Newsmax, any of them, they're all biased. And the BBC's even biased now. So I don't know where you're going to get your news at. Maybe that's why Rich stopped watching television, because it's like they're all going to lie. Huh?
You can get right here.
It's true. Actually, BBC is still, I think BBC, well, BBC covers a lot more subtopics than look when you watch
world stuff,
mainstream American media. It is just a couple things. That's all they droll on. You will not know what else is going on in the world. When you watch BBC,
that's right.
They tell you a little. Yeah, they may have an opinion or whatever about American politics, but guess what? They tell you about what else is going on in the world.
Yeah.
I found that in England and in Europe that they were much more world conscious. We were kind of from sea to shining sea. I agree, Rich. There is a broader exposure to what's going on in the world.
And you know what? I've said many times, you're not going to shut us up this time. This is a fool me twice election. Where you hear that, you ask Captain McCormick, you ask, where do we get our news? We get it right here. We get it right here. We get it from Val Olson. We get it from Charlie Kirk. We get it from Joe Rogan. We get it from Jordan Peterson. Whatever. That, just like Rich has his own selected news on his internet feed, as most of us do. Otherwise, there's a bunch of garbage in these alphabet networks. I watch them just to see who the competition is, but I can't stand them. But bottom line, you listen to us, Captain McCormick. You, me, and the rest were not going to be silenced this time. So there you go. I think that was a little bit of a rant, so excuse me.
Can we quickly touch on, though, when you do not have a secure communication network state by state, it's a real issue, and I'm going to use the fake lake versus lamb and what to watch for. I'm going to share with you just really quick. This was fact-checked. This was a tweet that Carrie Lake tweeted on November the 9th, 2016, 12:31 p.m. Carrie Lake says, quote, "Congratulations to the obese American public for getting one of their own into the White House, president since Taft." Okay.
Who was that?
Okay, that was Carrie Lake. That was Carrie Lake's tweet that has since been taken down. But that isn't known state by state.
Yeah,
and
who
that's why it's a
about?
problem.
She's talking about Trump.
Donald
she voted
Trump.
for Obama. James, she voted for Obama.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask right now that if Donald Trump is listening, if he wants to reconsider his endorsement, now would be a good time.
Could you read that again for the listeners, for the listeners and the old deaf folk? Can you read that again, Val? Seriously, that's a tweet.
So
that's a tweet for the ages.
Go ahead.
Is a
Trump
quote.
is endorsing anybody who will kiss his ring.
Okay. So this is Carrie Lake quote, a tweet that she sent out 12:31 p.m. on November the 9th, 2016. "Congratulations to the obese American public for getting one of their own into the White House, the fattest U.S. president since Taft."
But is that true? Was that true?
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Val Olson to the world, boys. Hey, we came to this show with good stuff, eh? That's amazing, Val. I love it. Great time.
Rich, is that true?
What?
Is Trump fatter than Taft?
Yeah. He's the fattest president he has been. Like, he is the. When you said that, I knew exactly who you're talking about. That was Trump.
Me too.
Yeah, he's calling out Trump. But the thing is, Cruz, all the Republicans have criticized Trump until they realize he is now the leader of the Republican Party. They are all kissing his ring, except Cheney. And that's why he didn't get
more than
reelected.
just his ring. Kissing more than just his ring. Oh my goodness.
No, James, you're being obscene now. No, it's kissing the ring. You're being obscene by suggesting more. Okay.
They're kissing his ring.
Actually,
honestly,
no. If you want to win over the South Park did a wonderful. I was a big fan of South Park. South Park did a wonderful sketch on racism. Okay, and one character, it's like
please don't. We're going to get banned.
The term, the N-word.
Oh no! Yeah.
No.
Once again, continuing missions degenerate.
So he goes to Jesse Jackson. Right? And he's sat there going like, he's trying to win him over and stuff like, are you really ready to apologize? Yes, I am. Are you really sure? And then Jesse Jackson gets up, pulls his pants down, and bends over. Because South Park is very obscene. It's like, you got to kiss his ass, okay? No, Trump is not about kissing his ass or sucking his penis. It's all about kissing the ring.
Here
like
we
go. Like the post.
Here we go.
Otherwise, James, your mind is dirty.
I didn't say anything like that. I said kissing more than his ring is all I said. I didn't
all right, what else?
Okay,
kissing. All right.
His
forehead,
what
other part
his
of his
ear,
body are you talking
the top
about?
Of his head,
he kiss it.
His feet.
By the way, he's kissing, honestly, everyone's kissing his ring right now. There's going to be 80 million people, honestly, that are going to get together and simply vote for him because we need to kick Biden out of the White House. This is the biggest issue of the day. This has been the most fun I've seen that in a long time.
Hey,
Continue Mission Radio.
Around the Beltway, they're prepping for a second term for Joe Biden. And they seem very confident. Very confident.
Oh, I can't imagine you with your
Wait, James, I'll tell you why. Because the Beltway is populated by Democrats. Because when the Democrats get in office, they expand the government. And they bring in all these new people. When the Republicans get in office, they reduce the government. The problem is, in Virginia, is you have Northern Virginia, because Maryland is overpopulated with liberal Democrats. Now they're spilling across the Potomac River into Northern Virginia. And now there's oh God. I mean, that is why Virginia, a southern state with southern values, where everybody calls each other
anymore.
Sir and ma'am, okay, now we're getting like these liberal. We're getting like it's carpetbaggers. Like one of our governors was not even from Virginia. Okay.
Boy, James, I'll bet you're going to be a buzzsaw. Hey, James, I'll bet you're going to be a buzzsaw between now and the election in D.C., man. Go get him, man. Go get him. Seriously, we need change there. We need change.
We're focused on some very clear, concise missions. And listen, I'm just focused on veterans. They can, and right now it's trying to, to encourage all the veterans groups to work together and to stop being a sycophant. Stop being a sycophant. Stop coming to D.C. to just self-promote and start being a dang public servant, a selfless serving individual. You get paid good money. I mean, there's no doubt that there's a great level of money that just flows like water here. But it's like, how about earning it? How about actually doing the right thing? And the right thing is sometimes telling people that, y'all are messed up, you're wrong. Stop doing that. And if all of the veterans groups, let's just go with veterans right now, if they all would come together and collectively work together, but what happens is you always get these half bills. So a half bill comes in and it's like, oh, this has some great things. Now it has some things that are not so great, but that's your sacrifice that you make. Well, instead of saying, well, let's just take or instead of those people saying, well, let's just take what we can get and run with it. No, you should demand that they stop, do their due diligence, and do it right the first time. I don't understand where mediocre has now become acceptable. And it's not acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
If they worked for me, I'd fire them, And I've attempted to fire several politicians by not voting. But unfortunately, the sycophancy, the sucking around on whatever, kissing the rings or whatever else is going on, voters are so uneducated, and they go to the polls and they say, well, they've already been in there, and I heard that they were a good person. There's very few good people. There's very few good people.
Low information voters.
Yep. Absolutely. That's a great
shame
term.
When you talk to people and you try to have a conversation just about how well informed they are. I mean, we learned that on the college campuses about situations. It's interesting. Whether it was, vote for Kennedy because he was good looking, or, there are some shallow things, and God help us to be more informed. Nixon beat him in the debate on the radio, but with Nixon's 5 o'clock shadow when it was on TV, and he was with his Boston accent a little more appealing. And, when you really investigate, what people accomplish, because we know the Lord is not going to say, well said. He's going to say, well done. We got more days that go on than really deeds that get done. So anyway, I think we should pray for our nation and for our military since we've talked so much about it tonight. If I could take a minute, James. James?
Yeah. All right.
I think we should pray for our country and our military. Okay. Heavenly Father, thank you for this conversation, and we thank you for the men and women of our military, the sacrifices that they make and continue to make. Lord, we just pray, Lord, that you'll heal our land. Lord, we just pray for a miracle, that the hearts of the people would change and that we would get the leadership that would reflect that. I ask and pray these things in Jesus' name. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
All right. Okay, we got about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Any parting shots from anybody? No parting shots?
Actually, just absolutely fabulous show. Reaching out to everybody in your audience. You guys have such a big reach. And we know who you guys are. I hear from a lot of you guys, but beautiful show tonight. Thanks so much. You can get my work. My name's Greg Meekin. I'm coming out with, actually, on Amazon right now is my book, Why I Came to America and What I Think Now. $5 special for an ebook, James. That was really directed for this audience.
Good,
$5.
Good.
And if someone can't afford $5, I don't think I want them as a reader. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So God love you. Let Val know where you can get her work real quick. And God love you guys, okay? Till next time. This is a really pleasurable night for me, guys. Thanks.
All right.
Good night, everyone. Yes, good night, everyone. Thank you. Love you all. I'm Val Olson. Good night.
Good night, everyone, and thanks for listening in to Continue Mission. Listen in every Friday. We don't always have these exciting shows like we've had tonight. We've talked about a host of things. Some things we just beat it to death. Some things we got to come back to. I'm interested in coming back to a discussion on technology, talking about drones and AI and different things. And that is a really good topic. So I'm looking forward to all that, folks. So, hey, y'all take care. Have a great weekend. God bless. Be good to one another. And have a great and wonderful weekend. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.